Welcome to Caffeinated Flicks.
Where we drink coffee and celebrate diverse directors.
I'm Celeste.
And I'm Kenzie. So, been stupid tired, and I was thinking about it. I was like, what kind of coffee am I going to talk about today? And then I was like, I don't think I've actually drank coffee today. So, that could be part of it too. Yeah. Probably. They're like, what do you think you're doing? You're just going to nap all day then.
Right? Yep. I just went to the extreme.
Which, I mean, I'm kind of glad. I'm just like, today's Sunday. We ended up canceling our plans, as you know. And so
Yeah.
I'm glad that I could just take the day to just on and off nap.
It was necessary, yeah. Because the next couple of weekends were jam-packed, busy. So I'm like, thank goodness, I'm glad this weekend we had or at least I had nothing. But yesterday we took a nap after we went swimming. And oh my gosh, it was one of those naps where you wake up and you think it's the next day. Except I thought it was a work day, and I woke up and I'm like, oh my gosh. And the dogs were out because we always kennel them before we go to sleep. And I'm like, what is it? What's happening? It was a rough nap yesterday.
Oh no. Oh gosh.
I know. Also, I'm sure it's the heat too, since it just started getting really hot. I think
yeah,
it hit us hard.
yeah. Now that it's in the hundreds here.
Yeah.
It's nice and toasty.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Billy's mom was saying the other day how it was actually hotter in Michigan than it was here last week. What? Isn't that crazy? Our climate
That's wild.
All wackadoodle.
I have no words.
Yeah.
I have no words.
Yeah. I don't know either, but.
So you didn't drink any coffee today either?
No. I meant to have, yeah, because I have a little bit of home, the when I buy the Starbucks one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't have any.
I should probably make some right now or just get some, but I'm too lazy. I can't. I don't want to get up. I can't.
I still had some of my cold brew that you got me yesterday. So I drank that. But
okay. It didn't get gross watered down.
I mean, it already was. I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
that's the beauty of having black coffee is it's not going to get super gross because it's black. And so you're just adding a little bit more water to it. So it's just a little diluted, but it's not you got your milk, your sugar. And so it changes the entire flavor of the coffee.
Yeah. That makes sense. Alrighty. So today we are doing Nomadland. So technically, if you look it up online, it's a 2020 film. But I think because of all, the delays that were occurring because of the year, I think technically, at least in the States and in Canada, it wasn't released until 2021. The director is Chloe Zhao. A little bit of info about Chloe Zhao. She is a Chinese film director, screenwriter, and producer born in March 31st of 1982. So she's an Aries, Kenzie. I added that just for you. And then
I was thinking so. I was like, since when do you look those up?
I was like, just for you.
Thank you.
So her other well-known films are The Rider, Marvel's Eternals, and Songs My Brother Taught Me, which was her debut feature film released in 2015. And she is the first Asian woman to be nominated for and to win the Academy Award for Best Director. And a quote of hers is during an interview that she did. She stated, "I often feel like an outsider wherever I go, so I'm always attracted to stories about identity and the meaning of home," which I feel like makes a lot of sense for this, at least this film in particular.
Right, for sure.
And then the cast is really interesting because amongst the main cast, Frances McDormand and David Stratham, I believe it's pronounced, are the only professional actors. Chloe casted real-life nomads for the authenticity, and she said it helped shape the character of Fern. So we've got, again, Frances McDormand, and then David Stratham, and then some of the other, main cast is Bob Wells himself, Linda May, also herself, and then Charlene Swanky. And then did you want to go ahead and do the 10 out of 10?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So the 10 out of 10 reads, very powerful movie. I don't see how anyone could watch this movie and not be completely mesmerized and stunned by its beauty and story. Frances McDormand gives an incredible performance as always, but it was the rest of the cast that really gave this movie its believability and vision. I can't imagine why, considering this is really their story. Whatever. It was a movie that I was drawn into, and that rarely happens. It was brilliantly directed and was enhanced by the incredible cinematography. Do yourself a favor and see this movie. Anyone with an ounce of creativity, lust for travel, and sensitivity will be drawn into its spell.
Alrighty. And then the 1 out of 10 rating, titled So Disappointing. Okay, I wasn't expecting a Coen Brothers extravaganza, but this docudrama never got started. I understood the premise of the situation, but it was so slow and had no direction. I was just bored as none of the plot lines went anywhere. It was a Louis Thorax without the interesting characters or gallows humor. Once again, this Oscar bait, written, directed, produced, acted by women, has let them down. Like everyone else, I so wanted to love this film, but there was no lasting memories. Unlike 3 Billboards that you'd happily watch again, when the credits rolled, I just thought, is that it? Filmed in the desert, the scenery matched the storyline. Plain, flat, boring, lifeless.
So that is somebody who clearly either does live in the desert or never wants to live in the desert.
Oh, gosh.
Oh. Wow.
I know.
Yeah, no.
You're like, yeah, no.
I'm like, were they drinking?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I went ahead and I read a couple of like articles in preparation for this about some of the backstory. And one of the biggest questions, one of the biggest questions is like, was this based off of a real story? And it's partially based off of a real story, but mostly just the themes, such as the fact that there are people who do live these nomad lives. There are people who unfortunately have to endure these hardships where they lose everything towards the end of their lives before they can even retire. And so they do have to work these part-time jobs and they're left with almost nothing, And so this is only one form of way to try and make it out okay, And this is based shortly thereafter the financial crash of 2008, 2009, but it also has reverberations that we can see right after 2020 with all the layoffs and everything that happened in that time frame and for the last few years that we've been experiencing also. So this is something that is continuing on even today, and there are people who idealize the camper life or the tiny home life, and there are people who really enjoy doing that. And there are people who really hate doing that. And so it's just seeing a version of that lifestyle, especially when it's all you have or what you feel like you have.
I feel like now so many of us are familiar with, digital nomads, which of course I feel like when you go online, you see people like glamorizing this lifestyle, but I think this film for sure sheds light on the fact that so many people were forced into lifestyle. So it's definitely a different perspective on that. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get to the notes.
Let's do it.
When it starts off, there's a text on screen stating January 2011, due to reduced demand for sheetrock, U.S. Gypsum shut down its plant in Empire, Nevada after 88 years. By July, the Empire zip code 89405 was discontinued. So, of course, I had to Google what sheetrock was. What the heck is that?
I know it is a very common construction term.
Yeah, I already forgot what it is. It's a type of what the walls are made out of now. The cheap walls.
Yeah.
What is the word I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
Drywall. It's a specific type of drywall.
Okay.
There you go.
Gotcha. It seems very heavy.
Does it? Maybe.
I don't know. When you think of the word sheetrock,
Mm-hmm.
it seems very heavy compared to drywall.
Yeah. Maybe it just got too expensive and they found a cheaper alternative.
Probably.
Yeah.
That probably lasts even shorter.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Crazy. Alrighty. So Fern, played by Frances, is going through a storage unit in the winter and comes across a jacket and holds on very tight to it. She says goodbye to an older fella and drives off in her van. So although I just want to preface that this film has a lot of scene changes, like a lot of very short scenes very frequently. And then also there's a lot of beautiful, gorgeous, beautiful scenery shots as well. So yeah. So if I'm just go, boom, 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 because that's kind of how the movie is.
Yeah. It's a lot of we're on the road, we're not on the road. We're on the road, we're sleeping. We're not on the road, we're working. We're on the road, we're meeting up with somebody. We're doing something else. So it's very boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. So next, she's all of a sudden pissing in the middle of nowhere. And then we get the title, Nomadland. She stops at night at a location and makes food inside of her van, which was concerning me the whole time. Doesn't that seem like a hazard of some sort? I'm like, oh, because she had a mini stove in there. I'm like, oh my gosh, doesn't it need ventilation of some sort or proper ventilation? I was so nervous.
I mean, her van's got windows. She can put them on up and down,
True. Alrighty, so it looks like the next morning, she's an employee at the Amazon warehouse. Their team leader is giving a very enthusiastic safety announcement. I thought she was so cute.
She's very cute. She's very all right, let's do this. We're here for it now. Yeah, rah, rah, rah.
Right. Fern is introduced to all the employees by her friend Linda. And I couldn't tell if she met Linda at Amazon or if she was a friend of hers, because they got acquainted very quickly. But anyway.
I feel like they're probably a previous friend because throughout the whole movie, they meet up at several points in time. And it seems like Linda is somebody who helps Fern out a lot. So maybe they knew each other back at Empire. And so they're kind of doing this together-ish, quote unquote.
Yeah, but it doesn't specifically state that throughout the movie. Alrighty, so she spends the day with her Amazon, I'm going to call it her Amazon friend Linda. And she shows her around her van, which she named Vanguard.
It's so cute.
I know.
What would you name a van if you had one?
Ooh. You go first.
I'm thinking.
Okay.
I'm thinking. Let's see.
Thinking.
Veranda. And I would paint it this bright green or something like that.
Ooh. I'd like a yellow van.
Yours would probably be a sunshine van.
Yeah,
I see yours
sunshine. I want flowers on it.
Yeah.
Maybe some cute daisies.
It would be so cute for you.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Yours would be Flower Child. That would be yours.
There you go.
I've named yours for you.
Ooh, I like that.
And I'm never really good at naming inanimate objects, but I'm thinking veranda just off of a van and the letters and then the green because it's the type of color in my oil paints is veranda.
Oh, really? When I think of veranda, I think of a strong, older name like Big Bertha. That sounds like something big and girthy and strong.
And that helps.
Oh, no. Alrighty. So she ends up bumping into an old friend at it looks like a sports store. She asks her if she's still doing the whole van thing, and she ends up offering her a place to stay because they're worried about her. Of course, she lets her know she's fine. It looked like she had like 2 daughters with her. And then when they walk off, the little girl's like, my mom says you're homeless.
I think I caught this correctly, but the girl who she talks to, who she's asking about her grades and her tutoring and stuff like that she had done, I believe her name was Mackenzie in that. And I was like, what? What's my name? I'm like, I never hear my name. Unless it's, a different company.
I feel like your name isn't like an unpopular name, but now that I think about it, I don't feel like I run into a ton of Mackenzies.
The only time that it ever happened was I worked at Make-A-Wish. I did an internship there. And for whatever reason, well, I've only ever ran into like one Mackenzie throughout all of my schooling. At Make-A-Wish, there were 6 of us. I was like, how did we all congregate here?
Or you,
no,
like the interns?
Employees.
Oh, okay. I feel like Mackenzie's like a cute little girl name. It's not one you really hear like an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. When I worked at Starbucks, a lot of older couples would come up to me and tell me, oh, my granddaughter's name is Mackenzie. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, that's nice. That's so funny.
But yeah.
Good catch. So she's back at the van and she's playing Christmas music on a little radio. And all the surrounding vehicles in like I don't know if they're technically campgrounds or if there's like parking lots dedicated to, nomads and in that area. The surrounding vehicles have Christmas decor. Linda visits her and tells her about how she had a low point in her life when she contemplated suicide. She told her she was going to turn on the propane stove and booze up. She was going to drink. And that I think she stated, if she woke up, that she was going to blow up the whole place. But she looked at her dogs and decided that she could not do that to them or to herself. Linda tells her that she checked her Social Security and saw that she'd only get $550 a month to live off of for her retirement. That she's been working since she was 12 years old. And insanity. So freaking sad. She ended up finding a man named Bob Wells online who teaches people how to live the nomad lifestyle.
And he's a real person. He has the real website. He's on Skillshare. I was like, what?
He's legit. He's a real guy. So Linda invites Fern to Quartzsite, Arizona. It's New Year's, and unfortunately, she's spending it all alone in her van, which it made me kind of sad. Like, I don't know.
The little headband that she had.
Cute.
Like,
yeah, she was celebrating on her
festive.
Yeah, she got very festive on her own. She made sure to celebrate. Next morning, she ends up locating a dog just strolling the snow, and discovers that it was left by the owner. So I think it was like the front desk area. I don't know what to call it, but they're like, oh yeah, apparently, I think she said the owner ended up having like some sort of like stroke or some sort of health concern, that their kid came and ended up taking him, and they just left the dog. I'm like, how do you, I don't know.
Well, because I think he was in a different state and they couldn't like fly the dog back with them.
I get that. Like, people, that ends up happening, but like, take it to a shelter, take it, There was this woman I used to work with, and she had a dog, and we had just started working there together. And so we were chatting it up, and she's like, oh yeah, because I was telling her that I needed a kennel. That's how we came across the subject. And she's like, oh, I have an extra one. I just got rid of my dog. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, I couldn't like take it anymore. And so I was like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, I ended up just driving around a neighborhood and just letting it out. It was in the middle of summer, Kenzie.
What?
And she just let it out. and drove off.
Oh, gosh.
And I was like, what the fudge? Like, you hear about people doing that, but I'm like, oh my God, this is like a real person in front of me who does that.
Yeah.
It was just like so wild.
Well, and people do that all the time with like all sorts of different pets that they decide that they're going to take, whether it's turtles or lizards or birds, you know, like that's one of the many reasons why we've got different infestations of different animals that are not local to Arizona, is that people get small versions of them for pets, and then they don't realize that they grow so big. And then they're like, oh, well, this is much bigger and so much more of a time commitment or a responsibility that I'm willing to take care of. And so then they go and they just release it out into whatever wild, quote unquote, or a street that they feel is appropriate. But like when I do shifts and trainings for the zoo and stuff like that, there's that waterway that's in front of the Phoenix Zoo. And they let us know often that people will come down and they'll set free what they think is a native turtle that they got as a pet, but they didn't realize that it's not native, and two, it's gonna, you know, through breeding will overpopulate the area and take over the resources from the already native species that are there. So then the Arizona Fish and Wildlife Services every year comes in, they categorize them, catalog them. That's the word. They catalog them all. And then all of the, I think the males they fix, and then the females. Oh man, bummers. But anyway, so like the male turtles they fix, and then the female turtles they leave be. So the whole to do.
Oh my goodness. All because people are so careless and
I don't know. Just rude.
Annoying. I know. Let's see. Oh, but yeah. So the lady at the desk is like, "Oh, do you want this dog? It's a really good dog." She's like, "No." So Kevin ends up just staying there. I don't know. I mean, she like ties it to a pole or something and walks off. Poor puppy. I hope it found its way at least to a shelter.
I know. She like tied it to like a table that was outside. Yeah. She like passed it on the head. Hey,
I think she pet it on his head. Yeah. She did a little pat and just walked off. I know. Poor baby.
Oh.
All right. So she, I guess, submitted her last day at Amazon, and she's informed. So I guess Amazon was paying for these spots for people to park at. Is that real? No.
Yeah. That's a real thing. Yeah. Oh. So part of it is because they are seasonal employees, is that they have this idea that the van life is something that some people want to subscribe to. And so they pay for people to be a seasonal employee. And so they'll pay for them to come and stay at the campsite or the RV site. So that way they don't have to worry about that necessarily. And so it's one of the benefits that they get. But in turn, they also don't get other benefits because they're just a seasonal employee. So they don't get like healthcare. You know, they don't get,
et cetera. Yeah.
Yeah. All the regular benefits that you get.
Yeah. So because she's going to be done there, she's informed that her spot, I believe she said, was $375 a week.
Something like that.
A ridiculous amount. Because she's no longer going to be at the Amazon. The woman tells her that she should go south because she's in a van and it's easy to move from one place to another. And it's warmer there. She says she wants to stick around and she wants to find another job, in which the lady responds, "Good luck finding a job in these times." So Fern ends up going to a career center and is told to consider early retirement. I just find it so crazy that she gave her previous work experience and she was a substitute teacher. She was in HR. She worked at the construction site. And the lady's like, "I just don't know what you would be eligible for." Like this woman has literally done everything, like across the board. And somehow she still doesn't have the necessary experience. So
yeah.
That was sad.
It's wild.
Let's see. So she moves on. She parks at a gas station where the owner approaches and suggests a local church because the temperatures drop extremely low there. Next day, she's driving in the desert and makes her way to Quartzsite, Arizona. So she ended up taking up Linda on her invitation. There's a meeting held by Internet's Bob Wells, and he tells them the economic times are changing and they need to take care of their own and can do so via this way of life.
When we're first introduced to Fern getting into Quartzsite and seeing, Bob Wells and the other group, the community of individuals who are part of this lifestyle that Bob Wells has put together, the way that he's speaking and just communicating to everybody is very cult leader like.
I thought so too.
Okay. It wasn't.
I thought
he's like on the less culty side, but it also is still culty.
I kind of thought there was going to be like a religious agenda to it, just the way he was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I can definitely see what you were saying.
I was just like the different types of words and the way that he's organizing the structures of his sentences and the stories that he's telling. It's very cult leader like, where it's like, we're going to give you back the power. We're going to give you the way to have your own freedom. We're going to give you this, like this way of life gives you such and such. And I'm not saying that he is by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just that specific scene seemed very cult like. And I was like a little wary.
I don't know how I felt about this.
Yeah. It's like, it could also just be the many documentaries that I've been watching. Yeah. So
oh, no.
I could be on edge.
Yeah. Also, it's important to mention that majority of the people that are here are like middle-aged at the youngest.
Or older.
Older. Yeah. Let's see. So at night, the group surrounds a fire and shares, their background stories and how they essentially became nomads. So there was one guy who was a vet who had PTSD. There was another woman who they just wanted to live life outside of, travel and all that. So she convinced her family. I believe there's this other woman whose close friend passed. And basically his last words were to just not waste your life and, go do the things that you wanted to do. So that's how she ended up there. In the morning, Bob Wells is telling Fern that he can't imagine the loss that she's experienced between her husband and her town, but that he thinks that she made the right decision coming there and finding this community.
I can't imagine just like losing an entire town.
I was like, I know when it said that, I was like, what? Like, the town is just no more? Like,
right. Like when it said that the zip code's not even there.
I know. I was like, what does that mean? Like, how does that happen? But yeah, that was shocking. And then there's a seminar that's held on teaching how to live as nomads, such as they're doing all sorts of little things. So just like shitting in the right bucket.
So you got your 5-gallon bucket, you got your 2-gallon bucket, you also got your 7-gallon bucket if it's hard for your knees.
Yeah. Like, I know she had the small one and she's like, oh, because I'm in like a small car. If you're in a van, you can go bigger. If you got your bad knees, go bigger.
You got to take care of your own shit.
Yep. Literally. Oh, no. So the girls, meaning Fern and Linda and Swanky, attend an RV show. They do a walkthrough through one of the RVs. And it was so cute because Fern gets behind the wheel. She says, where are we going? And one of them says, Hawaii. And one of the ladies like, look, there's water between us.
I know. I was like, I don't think there's a ferry.
I was thinking that too. I was like,
can't really just drive on over there.
Right. That night, they end up going to a bar and do some dancing. And that's where we're introduced to Dave. He asks her to dance, and she's a bit reluctant, but he gets her to do so.
Yeah.
In the morning, almost all of them are driving away, but Fern stays and makes some improvements to her van. She sees that someone else has stayed, but it ends up being Swanky. So she's putting up a flag. Okay, so she puts up a skull flag, and Fern kind of makes a face like, oh. I thought, you know how people put a sock on the door? I thought it was the equivalent to that.
Oh my gosh. Now that is a hardcore sign for when the boat's rocking, don't come a knocking. My gosh.
That's what I thought, because she made like this face at her that was like, oh, like a little.
You know what I think that it is? That is the sign that you use if you've got like BDSM going on, you know, like.
I know.
The sock is regular, you know, missionary sex. And then the skull flag is BDSM. But then we got to figure out
hardcore stuff.
Stuff you can't even find at like Castle or Fascinations.
Right. Like, you got to go to the dark web for this kind of stuff. But later on, we find out it's just because she's sleeping and doesn't want to be. I was like, what the heck?
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
She's like, it works for pirates. Why not me?
Yeah. So she's working at oh my gosh, like what is it? A rock? I don't even know what to, like, pop-up shop is kind of what it looks like. I'm not really sure what it is. Like,
it's like a gem store.
Yeah.
Like a gem craft store or something like that.
So she's working there now. And after like one of her shifts, she sees that she has a flat tire. That's when she goes to Frankie and disturbs her. She's like, don't you see the flag? I'm sleeping. Oh, God. I mean, Swanky, not Frankie. My bad.
I know. I was like,
wait, who's Frankie? That's when she goes to Swanky. So she's the one who stayed. And she asks her for a ride because she doesn't have a spare. And of course, Swanky is like, you don't have a spare. And so she tells her that she could die there. Like, I think she tells her like multiple times, you could die out here. You could, which is true. Like, I feel like if you're going to live this lifestyle, you should like be up on your freaking skills.
You should at least have
skills, right?
The spare. I mean, even just a regular car needs a spare.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can get stranded.
I know. So again, she tells you can die out here, but she can repay her by helping her prepare for her trip that she's about to go on. So the next scene, Fern's back in her van. She's playing the flute. When she gets the shits, like we hear her tummy grumble, like rumble.
I do love the fact that this movie is not shy about letting us know how does somebody go to the bathroom in this lifestyle.
Yes. All those like little questions that were like, how does this happen? What goes down? They don't shy away from it for sure.
No. But she got herself a bucket. She got herself a bucket.
And unfortunately, like, I would have thought maybe the bucket could have been used outside, but nope, right in the middle of her van.
It's very quick. You know those times when all of a sudden you don't even know that you actually have to use the bathroom, and then all of a sudden it's go time. You're like, it's God. Okay, hold on. Everybody move. Everybody move. It's one of those.
Right. I mean, clearly it was for her. She shat right in the middle of her.
But then you also see that she has like a little ventilation at the top of her van.
It's necessary. Can you imagine if she did it?
No, I can't.
Make it out alive. So, of course, right in the middle of this is when Swanky comes over. So she's like, I'm indisposed. She tells her that she's collected all this stuff and that she needs to get rid of it. So just like in a home when you're moving, doesn't that happen when you're moving? You realize, how did I end up with all this crap?
I ask myself that every 3 months.
Yeah. Apparently it happens to nomads too.
I'm like, okay, I need to get rid of this thing and I need to get rid of this thing. Yeah. I haven't used this thing in so long. And then somehow I ended up never having less stuff than what I started out with. I don't understand.
Because it gets replaced. I know I do that. I'm like, I need to get rid of all this decor because I want new decor. It's just a rotation.
It is.
Of stuff.
Trying to get smart about how to recycle it appropriately, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Work in progress.
Yes. Always a work in progress. While they're going through her stuff, Swanky begins to feel unwell. She's feeling nauseous. She looks like she's a little lightheaded. Fern stays with her to take care of her. And that's when Swanky tells her that she has cancer and was given only about 7 months to live.
I really thought she was going to have like a heart attack.
I did too. That's how it looked. But yeah, so she tells her that she doesn't want to spend her final days in a hospital and she's going to take her trip to Alaska. And that it has good memories there. So they end up walking together at sunset, and Swanky tells her that maybe when I die, my friends will surround a fire and toss a rock in remembrance of me. I know. So sweet. Swanky holds kind of like a free yard sale, but in front of her van with just a pile of her crap.
Whatever's useful for you, take it away.
Yes, please. Fern is cutting Swanky's hair and tells her about when her husband passed in the hospital. Let's see. So Fern says goodbye, and Swanky is off on her trip, which I was so concerned about her. I'm like, I know she makes it because she just
like by herself.
By herself, she's an elderly woman. She's sick,
right?
I'm like very concerned. Yeah. Fern decides to leave and is passing through, some forests, beautiful shots. She gets to swim in a lake nude, so more props to her. I would feel so unsafe, but
right,
she did.
But to be fair, like I just feel unsafe just all the time
in the world. Yeah. She's at a new campsite or RV site and is serving coffee to the other campsite attendees, and that's when she sees David, and tells him that she's now working there as a camp host. And we see Linda is also working there as a camp host. They're so cute together. They're clearly enjoying their time. At one point, Fern was like, "We be the bitches of the Badlands," or something like that.
Yeah.
They have their own little spa day that they do together.
So funny too, because Fern's like, "Oh, excuse me, miss, you've never been here before. Can I interest you in this spa treatment?" Yeah. Like they're just acting it out,
right? And then they're just acting there.
Yeah,
some cucumbers, face masks, the whole shebang.
I mean, I've been waiting to do that for the last 3 months, and I have the face masks.
Right? I'm
like, why have I not done this yet?
It feels like a hassle sometimes. I don't
know.
It does, right? Why is that? It's
I need to have dedicated time for it. I need to have dedicated downtime. Yeah. Like today was dedicated nap day, as it turned out. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. It has to follow your routine because you have to wash your face. Mm-hmm. You're not just going to wash your face any time of the day. It just has to align at the perfect time.
Most of the time, I actually skip that step. I just put it on there. I kind of wet my face. I pat it down, and then I just throw it on there. I'm very uninvolved. I'm just like, let's just do this. Okay. I just want to have it on there to make myself feel better and make it feel like it's working. But I'm not entirely sure because I'm probably not doing it right. But
it just feels nice. I like making myself think that I'm improving my skin and relaxing.
Right. But then I don't know if you're like this with Billy too. I always feel super awkward putting on a face mask or something with Richard around because it's just especially now that face masks are no longer creams. They're now that weird paper thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just it was weird enough when it was creams, but at least that made sense. Now, when it's that paper thing, I look like I have, I don't know, some murder mask on. I don't know.
Yeah, Billy doesn't mind it, but sometimes our dogs, whenever I do it, they kind of look at me like, the fuck? I do startle my dog sometimes, yeah. But if I do a mud mask, Billy likes to do it with me.
Oh, that's fun. We did try to do that once, but Richard wasn't
a fan
to it. He was allergic to it. Yeah, he had an allergic reaction to it.
Oh, God. One of the million things he's allergic to.
I know.
Poor guy.
It's never ending. The list is never ending.
Well, that sucks.
Yeah.
So Linda and Fern end up attending a tour together where they discovered David works. Either he works there or he's a volunteer.
I was trying to figure that out too.
Yeah, I was wondering. Because it looked like it was one of those state parks that they were at. So either he works or volunteers as a guide. So he takes them on a little tour, and Fern decides to roam off on her own. She does like this. At first, I thought she was looking for a place to shit or use the restroom because of the way she was kind of like skipping off and looking around.
Yeah.
Like, you know when you need to use a restroom and you try to find like a hidden area? It's like squat.
Oh gosh, arms, everything so straight.
I was waiting for her to pop a squat somewhere, but she didn't.
No. I think she just wanted to go and investigate.
Go on her own. And then that's when Dave shouts, "Find anything interesting?" She goes, "Just rocks." And it's a park full of rocks.
Yeah. So we're not the only ones, because they're either in South Dakota or North Dakota, because if they're in the Badlands, that's where they can be, in South Dakota or North Dakota.
Okay. I did not keep track at all where they were. After Quartzsite, I'm like, I have no idea where she is.
They don't really tell you where they are at any given moment, other than Quartzsite. Like that is the only time. But then they say like the Badlands, and then
I have no idea where that is.
The Badlands is either South Dakota or North Dakota, and it's basically just like this large prairie land, essentially, that goes between the two. But that's where like Mount Rushmore is in the Badlands. You know, you've got a bunch of different state parks, whole thing. Yeah.
So the three of them go to a bar, and Linda tells them about her land that she has in Arizona. And she wants to leave it to her grandchildren to pass on for generations to come. Fern and Linda end up saying Lindia. What am I writing? Fern and Linda end up they say their goodbyes. Next, we see Fern is emptying out her van because she has ants, and David comes over and to give her some licorice because he doesn't think that it's a good idea that she's smoking. And she's like, "I'm not going to give up smoking." He's like, "Well, here it is anyways." So already she was kind of getting a little irritated with him. He decides to help her empty out her van. And that's when he grabs a box and the bottom ends up opening up and all of her plates fall out and shatter. These plates are sentimental to her because she stated earlier that her father gave them to her, passed them down to her, that he used to collect them. I think he said at garage sales, maybe. I believe that's how he came across them.
I missed that entirely.
Okay. Well, her father was collecting them. Yeah, her father collected them and passed them down to her. So yeah, that was sad. So clearly she got upset with him and told him to go away. And so now we see Fern is now working alone. At one point, she's cleaning out the bathrooms and this man walks in and she's like, "Oh, we're closed." And he just decides to come in and take a piss anyways. I'm like...
With complete disregard.
Yeah. I'm like, how?
So weird.
I know. Ew, gross. All right. So she's sitting with a couple of ladies who are telling her how... I'm assuming these are other, campsite attendees. Telling her how lucky she is to have been born in the US of A. And that her love for her husband is eternal.
Yeah. She's like, "I can't even take off the ring."
Yeah. She's like, "I can't. I won't." All of a sudden, Fern is in David's van, making him soup because he too is feeling under the weather. And then it was so quick. The next scene, she goes to the hospital to discover that he's had surgery. And she's like, "What?" Yeah. The nurse was like, "Oh, he's, out of surgery." She's like, "He wasn't surgery." Like, it was wild.
Yeah. I think what happened was, so while she's making him soup and whatnot, like he's got a thermometer and then the thermometer starts beeping. And so I think he had like a really high temperature. And so she probably took him to the hospital. Yeah. And that's when they found out that he had an infection in his intestines. And so he had to have surgery. And so on and so forth.
Yep. She delivers him some food once he's out, and he tells her that he's heading to Wall Drug and can see if they have an opening for her. She doesn't respond. She just
doesn't.
She just walks out awkwardly. This poor man. I feel bad for him throughout this movie because he likes her. He's just trying to be nice.
He likes her very much.
Yeah,
and she's like, I don't know what to do about this.
Yeah, because she mentions he's like, oh, where are you gonna go next? And she's like, some festival, but he's like, oh, that's not gonna be available until October.
She said beet harvesting in Nebraska.
Yeah, and they're like, and he's like, that's not gonna be available till October. I'm not sure what month they're in. So he's like, maybe I can find an opening where I'm going. And she's out. She walks away. And then the next scene, they're now working together in a restaurant. So clearly she took him up on that. They're super cute too. So they decide, I don't know if they have they get to do behind the scenes stuff at this zoo that they're at, or if it's some sort of.
Oh, I don't know either.
Yeah, because I've never been to a zoo where they put the snakes on you or any of the reptiles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because in the scene they're putting a giant snake on her. She's
it's the yellow boa constrictor that Brittany dances with.
Yes, Brittany, bitch. Yep, it's that one.
And Fern is freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, she is. I think she freaked out more though about the alligator. So there's a snake on her, and then they go watch one of the employees feed an alligator. And she's freaking out for him. She's like, oh my God, get out of there. Even though.
It's so funny though. She's laughing while she's saying it.
Yeah.
He's got a bucket of skinned animals. I think they said it was parts chicken or something.
Yeah, rabbit.
Yeah. Rabbit. And so he's just got this claw grabber thing.
Yeah.
And he's picking up bits of animal meat and he's throwing it out with the claw grabber, and she's like, oh no, get out of there, get out of there.
Okay.
And
could you tell if it was a crocodile or an alligator? I can never tell the difference.
I think it's a crocodile because it was just gigantic.
It was huge.
But
are alligators more slender and long, and crocs are more wide and thick? But
I mean, I can do some research. Let's difference between crocodile and an alligator. Okay, so alligators are darker in color with a broad, rounded snout and are usually found in freshwater. Crocodiles are grayish green and prefer coastal, brackish, and saltwater habitats.
That doesn't help me.
No, that doesn't help us at all. I mean, unless we're comparing apples to oranges, I got nothing.
Same difference.
So it might be an alligator if it's a native from the area. I don't know, but I don't think that there are any alligators in South Dakota. Mm-hmm. So I don't recall that being in the time that I've been to South Dakota. Being an animal in the wilderness there wasn't on the things to watch out for. But if anybody wants to know, that is the difference between an alligator and a crocodile.
If that helps you.
If that helps you, according to SeaWorld.
So the two of them spend the day together. They end up going stargazing. I think they do a night tour of some sort. So let's see. So Fern is closing up the restaurant, and a man comes in, a young man who claims that he's Dave's son. She tells him that he's in the back, and she goes on and she starts snooping. She's being a little...
She's eavesdropping.
Yeah, she is. So Dave tells her that his son is expecting and that he would like for him to go stay with him and his wife. He also tells Fern that he wasn't around a whole lot when his son was younger and that he's not very good at being a dad, in his opinion. Fern tells him, regardless, he should go and be a grandfather. Dave tells her that she should go with him. I feel like that was very bold.
Right?
Come stay with me and my grandchild and my son and his wife.
Well, I mean, once we get there, it seems like they got a lot of random people staying with them that we will never know their names. he is very into her and she is just not having it. She's just like, nope, too close. Too close for comfort. Nope, I can't do this.
Yeah, she can. So she just kind of brushes it off and says, maybe she'll visit sometime. On a morning, he goes to her van to say goodbye, but she doesn't come out. And he leaves her a note saying if she visits him, there's plenty of more of these. And he leaves a rock with like this hole. Do you know what those? I don't know what the heck they are.
I don't know either, but she's like looking through the holy rocks and stuff like that. They're just kind of weird.
Yeah. I don't know if you're supposed to look through them, if that was the intent, or if they just kind of
no.
Because I would imagine that they are formed like that on their own. It's not something that's made.
Yeah, that happens naturally.
So after Dave leaves, she's left working on her own. And this very small town, it seems like a ghost town. Like clearly there's people living there, but every time she goes out, like she goes to the movies, she goes to a diner, nobody in sight.
I mean, that's a lot of small towns.
Yeah. And it was super funny to see because the movie that was playing was Avengers.
That's
and
right.
I was like, yeah. And then I was like, well, it started off in 2011, the movie. And then a year passed and it's 2012. And I Googled it. Sure enough, the first Avengers came out in 2012. Isn't that crazy how long ago or how long those movies have been going on for?
That was the year I graduated high school.
Oh, man. Crazy.
I know. I'm showing my age.
Yeah. I graduated in 2011, so you're good.
Wrinkles and everything. It's fine. That's why we need those face masks.
That's why we need those face masks. I know. Oh, no. So Fern is at a new job now, working as a bee farm worker?
Yeah. This is when she... Remember, she says she's going for the beet harvest. And so this is when she's at the beet harvest.
Wait. But she's working with potatoes.
No, they're beets. They come from the ground.
They're beet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. On here, it looks like bee.
Oh.
There's no T. Like, what?
Yeah.
I didn't know those were beets still. I thought they were potatoes.
Yep, they're beets. Nope, she's got hives of bees that they're just putting down conveyor belts and nobody has to worry about being stung ever. It's fine.
Oh, right. Also, well, that makes more sense then.
Yeah. Bringing it back around.
She ends up receiving a video from Swanky on her trip. So she officially made it. She mentioned that one of the things she wanted to do was go somewhere where apparently there's like all these birds that fly around her.
Oh. See, and I couldn't figure out if they were birds or bats. I thought they were birds.
They look like they were bats coming out of like, because they look like they were coming out of a cave of some sort. But then when you look at them, they kind of look like birds.
They're coming out of nests. Okay. They're different nests that are built that are attached to like the cave ceilings. But I couldn't remember if those were birds or if they were bats that build those nests. But and it's weird because they fly around a little like bats, but I can never tell the difference between bats and birds when they're flying at night. Sometimes, you know, like sometimes I see them here even like flying around. And it's like, I don't know what I'm seeing half the time.
You see bats flying around? What?
Bats are native here.
Just like flying around the valley?
Yeah.
What? I have never seen a bat out here. Also, to be fair, I've never seen a scorpion. Praise
And I've seen 2 scorpions. So shout out to my dad who listens to this loyally.
Oh, that's sweet.
So he lives out on the edge of like the desert, and so twice 2 different scorpions have come into his house. All relatively small. Like you just kind of squish them.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I've never seen one. Born and raised here, and I've never seen a scorpion. Thank goodness. I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, I know. Most people aren't.
Right. So at night while she's eating some fried chicken, and all of a sudden this man is like staring into her van through the window and just like scares the crap out of her with his scared the crap out of me too. Throughout this entire film, I was waiting for someone to just like attack her because she is a woman traveling on her own. I honestly expected
I'm so glad it didn't happen.
Me too.
But constantly on edge.
Yeah. Constantly in the back of my mind. But fortunately, nothing happens. He just says she can't park there overnight. And she's like, I'm leaving. I'm leaving. Oh, no. So unfortunately, she ends up running into some car trouble that ends up costing her $2,300 freaking dollars.
No, thank you.
I know.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. They actually did suggest that she, sell her vehicle and invest in a new one. But of course, she didn't want to do that because, she's already invested a lot of time and money into her vehicle.
She's like, you guys may not understand this, but it's like, I have all my stuff in here. I've spent so much time and I spent so much money in this. And it's like, I just can't do that. Yeah. And plus she'd only get like $5,000. And so it's not like that's even enough to really reinvest in a new vehicle again,
Yeah. So she calls someone named Dolly to ask for a wire transfer, which apparently Dolly does not do. She says she's being stubborn, and then she calls her a bitch.
She's like, well, I think you're being a bitch.
Who Dolly is, I have no idea who that is.
Well, we find out. Dolly is her sister.
What? I didn't know that was her sister?
Dolly's her sister.
Oh, okay. Well, no, I thought she was like a random friend from Empire.
No,
okay.
It's her sister.
All right. Well, Fern ends up taking a bus to her sister's house. I never inputted her sister's name. I just said her sister. So apparently to Dolly's house. She goes over and there's a little tension when her sister and husband have company over for a barbecue. They're discussing their work in real estate when Fern says that she thinks it's strange that they encourage people to go into debt for homes that they cannot afford, which I mean, I kind of agree with. When you put it out, when you explain it like that, like she ain't wrong,
Nope.
Just,
I mean, you're basically, you're buying into the promise that in 30 years, you'll be able to technically, quote unquote, own this home. Mm-hmm. And hopefully nothing between now and then
happens.
Prevents you from being able to make payments on your mortgage.
Hopefully life doesn't happen. So
right. Hopefully life doesn't happen. Hopefully you don't have to move. Hopefully you don't, have to make a payment that you can't afford. Hopefully, family doesn't get involved. Friends don't get involved. Like catastrophic things don't happen. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's like when you go and you get a house, you put down so much money and then have the idea that maybe in 30 years, I'll be able to own this house. But until then, technically the bank owns it. And if I can't afford it, they're going to take it away from me.
Yeah. What am I watching on Netflix? It's that money guru guy.
Oh.
I don't know his name, but it's popular on Netflix right now. And he was saying how he doesn't necessarily agree that buying a house is for everyone or even the best decision. Because it says when you rent, that is your maximum amount that you're going to pay every month. But when you buy, your mortgage is the minimum amount that you're going to pay every month. So you really don't know like how much you're going to be putting into it. Because you know how like, people were always like, oh, well, like a mortgage is technically cheaper than rent, so on and so on.
Right.
And so,
there are pros and cons to both.
Right.
And it just depends on what you're able and willing to do.
Yes. Your financial situation, your own personal goals, especially if you're someone who doesn't feel like or think you're going to stick around for a long time.
Right.
Because it is a long time, like long-term investment.
Yeah. Like I said, 30 years is generally the minimum or it's the average payment schedule that they put out for you if you buy a home. 30 years.
Mm-hmm. That's a long time.
I'm not even 30 years old yet. That's you times 2.
No. I don't want to.
That is almost me times 2.
Wild. So Dolly, Fern's sister, ends up giving her the money for the van. But she does end up asking her to move in with them. Fern tells her that she can't, and that her sister replies by saying it's because we're not as interesting as the people that she meets out there. And that she was always more brave and eccentric growing up than everyone else, and that she really could have used her around all of these years. So they have a little moment, and she agrees. She says, that's on me.
Yeah. Huh. Healing can happen at any time.
Right. Fern gets her van fixed and is back on the road as she sees a young man camping under a tree and decides to give him a sandwich. It turns out that she already met this young man previously before in another state. I think she gave him like a cigarette. It was very quick. And so she shares a poem with him that she used for her wedding vows with him to write in a letter for his girlfriend back home.
I forgot. I wanted to look up what that one was.
Oh, yeah. I read it online, who it was by, but I completely forgot because I didn't save it down there. I was going through the random trivias, and I think I did see that who it was by.
The intention was there.
It was there. And
actions were gone.
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, well.
She makes her way to the coast and visits Dave and at his son's home to spend Thanksgiving together. Dave tells her that he's decided to stay and that she can stay in their guest house. And he tells her because he likes her. He enjoys spending time around her. So, yeah, they have a guest house, and Fern's like, well, how would your son feel about that? He's like, oh, I already asked him and his wife, and they agreed, apparently.
Yeah. Like I said, his daughter-in-law and his son just have random people over at all times. We're never introduced to them. They have at least 4 other people over, but we're never introduced to them.
Then, well, also it was Thanksgiving, so I figured that's why they were there. People just spending.
I mean, that makes sense. Yeah. But they're there the entire time.
True. So Fern and Dave's daughter-in-law end up having a chat about Empire and what Empire was like and her previous home that she had with Beau. And she tells her that she's really glad that Fern is there because Dave really likes her and that he talks about her a lot.
Ugh, pulling at my heartstrings here.
Poor Dave. Fern ends up leaving.
In the middle of the morning. Nobody's awake.
Yeah.
She's just bye.
She walks around the house. She, looks at it. I feel like she's admiring the house because it was a beautiful house.
It was a very beautiful house.
Yeah,
I think they were in California or something.
Were they?
I think so.
Idea where the heck she was.
She went to the coast. Mm-hmm. So
Fern leaves and is back working at the Amazon warehouse. Once again, it's New Year's and she's spending it alone again. But this time she's walking around the campground wishing everybody a happy new year. Some little sparklers, just so cute, and a little happy New Year's headband. And so then we see a group of nomads, including Bob Wells, get together around a bonfire to throw rocks into the fire in honor of Swanky, who had just passed. Fern tells Bob Wells about her late husband, Beau, and how she couldn't leave Empire because then it would be like he never existed. Bob Wells then tells her about his son who took his life and that it would have been his 33rd birthday today, but that he honors him by helping and serving people. Bob tells her one of his favorite things about this lifestyle is that there are no final goodbyes. They just say, I'll see you down the road. And that he is certain that he'll see his son again and that she'll see Beau again.
And this is where I decided he's not a cult leader, just to be clear. I was the very beginning, I wasn't so sure. And then at this point in time, I was okay, he seems genuine. He seems fine. He has my blessing.
He seemed like a sweet guy, yeah.
And he's got this very Santa look to him.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, they mentioned that in the movie. When she's looking at the movie, she's like, he looks like Santa Claus.
Santa.
Yeah, Linda's like, oh, everybody says that. So Fern decides to get rid of all her things in her storage unit, and she makes her way back to Empire. She visits the abandoned building that was once U.S. Gypsum and the house that used to be hers and Beau's. She opens the back door and stares at the open land to the mountains. It ends with Fern driving towards the mountains, and then text on screen stating dedicated to the ones who had to depart.
The end.
Yep. I know. Right?
Yeah. It's like an emotional movie.
It's not like heavily emotional. It's not intense, but I don't know. It was, hard to put into words how I feel about this.
Huh?
So does it pass the Bechdel test? Yes, it does. What?
You missed the dinosaur bit.
Oh, yeah. When was her and Dave? I did think of it when I was reading it. I'm like, I swear they were like taking pictures with dinosaurs. For a second, I thought, I'm like, are they in Arizona with that? You know?
No, they're in South Dakota, and I'm pretty sure I've been to that dinosaur, which is the other reason why I was pretty sure that they were in South Dakota, is because I've been to that dinosaur. I'm pretty sure.
I recognize that place.
Yeah, pretty much. I was like, that dinosaur is awfully familiar. When we were moving out here to Arizona, my dad's family is from South Dakota. And so we went ahead and we drove through South Dakota to pick up my grandparents and then drove through the Badlands. And so we went to like the Corn Palace and we went to, I believe, that dinosaur and stuff like that.
Fun. That sounds awesome. But yeah, I did forget that. As I was reading, I'm like, I could have sworn they were taking like selfies with dinosaurs.
Yes. Pretty sure.
Yeah. So again, yes, it does pass the Bechdel test, fortunately.
And the bad bitches of the Badlands.
Yeah. I'm so cute. So some trivia. The movie was filmed in 7 states over the course of 4 months, during which Frances McDormand actually performed several of the jobs done by the people who do nomadic work and inspired the book, such as harvesting beets. Oh, there you go. And packaging Amazon orders with the Camper Force program. Also, Dave's son in the film is played by David Strathairn's real son in real life. So
that's always fun.
I know. I love seeing those. And then also partially filmed in Quartzsite, Arizona.
At a yacht club? That's very different.
Yeah. Yacht club in Quartzsite. So you know how like films say that they're taking place in this city or this state, but it's not really that city or state. So it legitimately had taken place in Quartzsite, Arizona. Several local people appeared in the movie.
Where was our notice? Why did we not get there?
Why are we not getting this information? Like, what? I want to be an extra, damn it. I want to be. I want my split second of fame.
I don't even necessarily care about fame. I just want to be like, photo bomb.
Right? I would love to go to a movie theater and be like, there's my arm.
Luckily, with all of my tattoos, it'll be very recognizable. Right? Be like, that one is my arm.
Be easy to point you out.
Exactly. It's not like a guess. It's not a whisper. No, that is my arm right there.
Yeah, that is your exact tattoo.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
The verdict is concerned.
Yeah. So what did you think about this movie?
I thought it was a good movie. I don't think that I would watch it again. And I think that it is true to life. And, it is true to a life. It is true to an existence of life. It is true to somebody's story. And, it does evoke some emotion and it does provide an insight into people's hardships. And ultimately, I think I would rate this like a 5. It's very like middle of the road for me. It's not like great. It's not bad. It's very, all right, cool.
Yeah. All right. I think I would rate it like a 6 or 7. I agree. I think it is a really good movie. It's just not one of those movies that I would want to watch again.
Right.
It had some really beautiful, like, again, scenic shots. But I feel like we always expect movies to be like super intense drama and like intense emotion, like to bring out intense emotions. And I feel like this movie was it was very realistic, and also the in-betweens of what happens between those intense, moments in life. Like it shows what's really happening in between those moments. And so I think it was nice to see that for once in the movie.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like what happens after the happily ever after type of a thing, or what happens after, the tragedy type of a thing.
After loss, after, yes.
And what does that look like? How is that portrayed? Like, what does it look like to actually go through life? Mm-hmm. And this is a great example of what that's like.
I agree. Mm-hmm. So those are my thoughts on the movie.
I like it. Very astute. All right, cool. So that is Nomadland, which we were able to watch on Hulu.
Yes, actually in the subscription.
Yes, we were able to watch it on Hulu. So excited. So if anybody would like to, you're able to watch it on Hulu.
Yes. Yay. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Caffeinated Flicks. If you'd like to get in touch with us, you can follow us on Instagram at Caffeinated Flicks Pod, or email us at caffeinatedflicks@gmail.com.
And just like every other podcast, we would love it if you could follow us in your podcasting app and give us a rating or review. Your feedback helps us get better. And if you're enjoying us so far, please tell a friend.
We'll catch you on the flick side.